I think we've pretty much established the fact that if I select an object in Adobe Illustrator, I can drag it, beat it, distort it, delete it, do anything I want to it. But what about multiple objects at the same time? An efficiency thing, also a random fun way to work with items. I have up there a bunch of airplanes. That's not just any old airplane, that's a TBM Avenger. And if you know the story, on December 5th, 1945, 5 of them left Florida into the Bermuda Triangle and were never seen again. Flight 19. Alien abduction or bad navigation? You be the judge. There's only one difference between these 10 airplanes up here. These 5 are individual objects, and these are in a group. And transform each works differently based on whether they're individuals or groups. I want to show you both ways. Let's start with our 5 up here. I'm going to select just these 5. Come up to the word object and go down to transform. You will notice here is one more place to get things like your rotates and reflects and scale options. We're going to go into transform each. In transform each, you have a lot of options. Scaling and vertical and horizontal and moving and rotating and reflecting and randoms and previews. Let's turn the preview on. Again, these are 5 separate items. If I come up to the word horizontal, you can see if I want to do this, I can distort them horizontal or vertical. If I want to leave them both the same and just make them bigger, I could make both those numbers the same. So we've just made them 25% bigger. Down here for moving, if I want to do this, I can move them horizontally or vertically. I can do a reflect, go back this way or that way, or I can reflect this way. And if they were flying upside down, I know why they went missing. I like this option down here. It's called random. Watch what happens when I click that button. They begin changing randomly. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but they're different sizes. Watch what happens when I change the angle, though. So if I turn random off, they're all going to go up. But notice they stay on the same horizontal line, which is going to be different when you see the group. But the random nature allows you to take multiple objects, and I don't know, I use it for patterns, a lot of different things. You can randomize, transform each. Click OK. We come over here and pick up these guys. Remember, they're in a group. If I come over and go back to object, you will notice I have a transform option that says transform again. If I choose that, the objects that I have selected will be transformed again based on what I did to the first objects. Let's go back down to transform each. Now notice what's happening. They're not rotating independently on a horizontal line. They're rotating as if they're together. That's the main difference between having a group and having them individual. If you want them all to go down or to go up, for example, then put them in a group before you go to transform each. If you want them to behave independently, then make sure they're not in a group. That's really the main difference between the two. One more thing down here I have. A whole bunch of little tiny squares that are independent. They're not grouped. So we go ahead and select all those and come up here one more time and go into transform each. You can have some fun with this actually. Say we do some horizontals and some verticals here, change those around. Moving is basically just changing their position based on their target point right here. So you can play around with that. And of course the random nature randomizes them, but watch what happens. Let's make those bigger. When I turn off random, you can make some what I consider to be very nice, interesting patterns by starting with a bunch of simple shapes and going into transform each and not using random. Interesting tool. Transform each performs differently if the item is grouped, handles it like one. If they're individuals, you can have all the fun in the world. Don't forget it's there. It's under the word object.